Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen. Thanks for being with us on the program. JJ, what's up, man? Everything good on a Wednesday for you?
We're going to have any breaking news today? I'm ready.
I hope so.
Bring it.
Oh, look, this is what we're built for. Yesterday at this time, we got the Tom Holmoe news. It dropped at 3:30 yesterday, and then it turned into a whole show. And then it just turned into a walk down memory lane. Listen, when you get PK and Dick Harmon on, and you've got like a total of 80 years of covering sports here in the state of Utah. That's about right? 80
pretty close
between those two guys. And to get that perspective, pretty fun. But we've got tons going on in the program today. Welcome to the show.
A wide variety. A potpourri of sports.
JJ and I
Potpourri smells terrible.
I know. We spent a good time. A good chunk of show prep today yelling at each other about who would be on the all-Tom Holmoe.
The all-Tom Holmoe era BYU sports team.
It's a weird thing to try to explain, but at the same time.
If it's weird to explain, maybe we shouldn't have done it.
No. I'm saying, well, it's weird to explain because I'm like this. Tom Holmoe, we don't need your opinion, but here are the people who are your best players during your era. We'll ask you later. I mean, he might have some personal preferences, right? Maybe he had better relationships with other people, but we'll have for you late in the program the top 10 per our view, and it might actually be like a 13 or 14.
Top 10 BYU athletes of the Tom Holmoe era.
Yes. And you know what? We had to dig it all up, man. We had to find everybody. So, and of course, we'll get the hate mail afterward, and just send that on to ndowdle@bonneville.com if you need if you have something to complain about. Oh, our fearless leader Nate here in the studio. That's why I'm pushing you to his email. He doesn't get enough of your love and your emails during the day, so just send them on.
Especially you drill team parents.
All right, we're going to kick off the program. Our show, of course, is brought to you every day by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs that quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Oh, my goodness. The press conference happened today. We had the full day of breaking it all down, and I'm going to be honest, I was not in the car today to be able to hear all of the things that Tom Holmoe said. So we're going to bring his final press conference, his retirement announcement that he had actually in person today down at BYU. So let's kick things off there, and we'll send Tom Holmoe off with the Viking funeral as we fire off the flaming arrows into the lake and say, "We bid you adieu, Tom. You'll always be remembered." But then we, of course, start to go to. I mean, I'm reading Mitch Harper's write-up about the big board of who's going to be on the list. What a hard thing to try to do if you're BYU. What a tough thing to try to replace.
Almost impossible.
You never want to be the guy after the guy or the gal after the guy.
Right.
But somebody has to do it, and this is as crucial of a time of athletics in collegiate sports. Your
next leader might have to be as good as Tom or better, because what's coming next, we don't know what it is. But it's going to be wild. It's
going to be something to watch, and if you fumble it, this is not the era to do it in. So we're going to kick off the show as we always do with the cut. Let's jump in right here, top of the program. Let's get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And of course, the cut this hour brought to you by Trajan Wealth. TRAJAN Wealth, Trajan Wealth for all your local financial needs and retirement. It is TrajanWealth.com. All right, let's start things off here. Were there any tears shed during the press conference? This is a guy who wears his emotions on his sleeve all the time. We've seen Tom Holmoe more than once get emotional about some of the things that are going on in the world of BYU athletics, and just this is his life's work. When you think about all the things that he's done. And you think about all the positions he's been in, winning 4 Super Bowls, 3 as a player, 1 as a coach, might take a back seat to the era that he's ushered BYU into. And so, I don't know, as you listen to his words today and you kind of heard some of the things, what was the thing that stood out to you, JJ, about Tom Holmoe and his time that he's leaving after 20 years at BYU?
You just look back and reflect on how BYU has evolved and changed athletically under his watch. And the challenges that he had to face as an athletic director. And it started first when he took over in 2005. You remember the football program was in disarray.
Yes.
He had to hire a new men's football coach, and he had to hire a men's basketball coach for a program that was also going through a transition, had a bad year. Steve Cleveland goes to Fresno State, and there was a lot of challenges right out of the gate, and he nailed those hires, and it led to conference championships and obviously a great era of football during the Bronco Mendenhall era through 2009. And then, of course, in basketball, it ushered in a run of NCAA tournament appearances and, of course, culminated with Jimmermania and a lot of success into the next decade under Dave Rose. But then all the other changes that came during the 2010s with conference realignment coming up, something that nobody saw coming until it did. And as soon as it happened, how volatile things became. And now you see him getting BYU to the Big 12 and then trying to figure things out in this new era of NIL. All the things that he had to navigate and take BYU through, there was no playbook. There was no handbook he could go to and say, this is how you handle these situations, because all of these things were pretty new and pretty challenging. And you add into the fact that BYU is a unique institution with unique challenges and also unique opportunities. And he handled it brilliantly. You can go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm sure you can find flaws and you can find mistakes, but they're not glaring. You look at what he accomplished, and it's a lot of positive.
You know,
where would BYU be without him?
No, and if BYU would have been ushered into the Power 4 era 15 years ago, that would still be the thing that he'd be remembered for, right? It just so happened to be that he is remembered because that was the most recent success and the biggest success. And
the crowning achievement is the Big 12 invite, and he helped BYU get a seat at the table that's going to set the stage for the next chapter.
So a couple of things here. I've got some sound for you to listen to, and here's Tom Holmoe talking about why right now is as good of a time for him to be able to walk away from the athletics department officially as the athletic director.
I was passed the baton to play the role of BYU's athletic director in 2005. I knew at the time it would not be my duty to finish the race or to break the tape, but instead to run a good race and be prepared to pass that baton to the next BYU AD at the right time. I believe this is the right time. In 2005, when I first received the baton, we were already pretty darn good at BYU and had been for a few decades. But with the addition of some amazing coaches and a constant, steady stream of remarkable student athletes, we got better. You add to that a fan base that stretches to forever, called Cougar Nation. A student section at games that's second to none, The Rock. Donors and sponsors that not only support the Cougs financially, but willingly and effectively teach us, players, coaches, and administrators, career, business, and life strategies. And we have, with all that, a cheat code for success.
So we talked about it yesterday, JJ, the legacy part of it, and then the what's next part, right? And obviously, so this is what President Shane Reese, BYU's president, talked about too, was one, so he first started talking about the legacy, and then everybody wants to know what's next. So here's what he had to say about Tom Holmoe's time as the athletic director at BYU.
We talk about a replacement. I don't think you ever replace a man like Tom Holmoe. I think there's a successor in this role, but Tom Holmoe's an irreplaceable athletic director. 20 years as an athletic director. I go around and look at Big 12 schools, and that's a rare individual. And you then look at the path that we've trod to get to where we are as an athletic department through independence to entry into the Big 12. It's a remarkable tribute to an incredible career.
Then it was like, okay, well, that's great. You can't replace him. However, who are you going to replace him with? So how does that work?
You're going to have to replace him.
Well, and again, it's easy to look inside the building of people that are already, names that we talked about over the last 24 hours. But this is going to have to be a bigger search, I think. I think they owe it to the university to look as far-reaching as they can to find the exact perfect best candidate. Here's what he had to say about that.
We're definitely going to conduct a national search. We're going to cast a broad net with the intent of getting the person who is passionate, who bleeds blue, and committed to the mission. Tom talked about this alignment piece, understanding that we're sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and our connection to our board of trustees, and having that alignment from top to bottom is an incredible asset. I would call it our strategic advantage. I think it's part of what led to some of the magic we saw with our cross-country teams this year. I think it's what led to this magical football season that we've had. It's the magic of this athletic program, and I think that alignment matters critically, and so that means that we've got to be rigorous in our approach for searching for a replacement.
So that's an interesting thing there, JJ, when you think about it, because we threw around all the names, and you can't get into this job and not already understand what the role. You can't. I don't think you can hire somebody and explain to them from day one what the relationship of the church is and the board is with the university. There's no version of that. However, is there a national candidate out there somewhere else that's leading another big conference in some weird capacity, interesting capacity? See, that's the thing is, like, we talked a lot about the names that are just the easy, low-hanging fruit over the past 24 hours of people who could replace Tom Holmoe. But maybe that search goes even further out. And I'm interested to see who they come up with. I'm interested to see, and they wouldn't be doing their job of overturning those rocks to see who the people are that are across the country that are maybe being innovative in the world of athletics, trying to figure out how to prop up your biggest programs. And yes, it is football, and yes, it is basketball, right? Do they understand that? Can they still carry the torch of all the Olympic sports? The stuff that you're coming into at BYU before the athletics part even hits your desk is a key and crucial part of this. There has to be that relationship. It's a really hard thing to do. Is there a version of somebody out there nationally that fits that bill, or do you think that BYU will end up going with somebody that's inside the building?
Oh, I think there is. Mark Hill is the University of Kentucky Deputy Athletic Director. He's been at University of Kentucky for 25 years, and we obviously know where that's at. That's an SEC country. So he's working in the highest level of college sports in that conference. I think we all respect that conference and what it does and a lot of the sports it has. But he's got ties to BYU. He's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think he's a member of the stake presidency in Lexington. So, yeah, I think that's the kind of guy that BYU and its board of directors, or I guess, for lack of a better term, would be looking for.
Yeah.
I think that he checks a lot of the boxes, plus his experience next to Mitch Barnhart, who's one of the top ADs in the SEC, in navigating the current challenges that are in this era of sports and getting somebody who's at a Power 4 school and that has that experience.
It helps to be in the SEC, right? In a program
100%.
Like Kentucky that, first of all, you think of Kentucky as a basketball school, and it always will be thought of as the basketball school, right? But they've also made massive strides in football.
Yes.
It's a place that you have to manage money really, really, really well, because the NIL donors that throw money at Kentucky, they've probably had to live in a very interesting space. I mean, that's a good problem to have, right? When you have a place that people love your program, your basketball program, your football program, and some of your other programs so much that, you have to manage these massive amounts of money for these athletes. And you have to figure out how to hire the best. Look, part of the deal is having national searches for coaches that these athletic directors do. Look, you'd be fooled to think that over the next, even 10 years, that massive upheavals in coaching staffs at BYU are going to have to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah. We've seen it in the last 20 years with Tom Holmoe. It's an up and down situation, and guys leave. Mark Pope finds bluer pastures, so to speak, at Kentucky, right? By the way, you see him beat Tennessee at home. Was it last night or the night before? No, it was last night when Tennessee beat. When Kentucky beat Tennessee at home. And look, that was a search. Fit. That was a search that this particular gentleman was a part of, and probably had that probably helped a lot to be able to sit down and go, hey, this guy knows. Hey, I know what's going on with you, man. Like I know your deal. We know your deal. So that's an interesting one. But But again, this is going to be an interesting search. It's going to be a lot. Here's what Tom Holmoe said about it, because this is also something he's going to have a part of on that search of trying to find who his replacement's going to be.
But I think it's important to note that, like, right soon after I knew his feelings and we're super close friends, I knew that he had already turned the page and he was ready to go. And it made me feel so good that he can't wallow in what was. We're looking ahead right now. This is a really good time to make a transition. Transitions are part of sport. Change is part of sport, and it's oftentimes very good. It can be tough, but it's good. And I love the fact, and I'll report this to all of our coaches and our staff, is that President's ready to go. We're going to turn the page. The baton will be handed to a new AD, and we'll hit the ground running.
Here's what he said, too, because everybody wants to know what the type of person is who would be good for this, because who the next person is. And here's what he was actually asked was about the advice that he would give to the person who's going to be his replacement. This is beyond a unique place to be, and we're in beyond a unique spot in the world of collegiate athletics. Like, it's just a totally different world from one year to the next, from 6 months to the next. I mean, until the NCAA figures out what their relationship is with the student athlete going forward, these universities are just going to have to play it by ear. And so you're going to have an athletic director who's going to do the same. They have to. Right now, it's a scary time because they can kind of do a lot without any repercussion. I mean, from the sense of trying to figure out the NIL stuff, getting creative with however that revenue sharing is going to look. We have no idea what that's actually going to look like from school to school and program to program inside those schools. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting part of trying to navigate this whole thing. Here's what the advice was that Tom Holmoe says he'd give to somebody who's going to be his replacement.
When I was hired by President Samuelson in 2005, he sat me down in his office and said, "You have got to be aligned with BYU, the school. Keep aligned with me, meaning the president, and the direction that I give you, and I will stay aligned with our board of trustees in the church, which we have the closest bond as any school in the country. It's a strength that I could never overstate. And I've just felt that for 20 years, that bond and the support and the strength that I feel when things get tough and things get rough, we're aligned. They've given me leeway because I'm okay to fail. Like I said in my remarks, we've struggled and stumbled and done some crazy things. And they have grace, and we're good. And that gives me confidence to give that to our coaches, and our coaches feel the same way. And so there's stability, there's structure, and there's consistency, and that rules the day here.
Do you remember what came to mind? I was listening to Dave Rose today on DJ and PK's show, and you talk about a guy who was brought in right at that moment when Steve Cleveland was out. And then that new era of BYU basketball, which was a phenomenal time. You think about that hire of Dave Rose and how big of a deal that was and how much that changed the trajectory of BYU basketball that was in a limbo era, right?
Well, let me mention, both he and Bronco Mendenhall were risky hires. Because they had not been head coaches at that level yet.
And they were both also kind of, in the football program case, he was inheriting a mess. Yeah. And in the basketball world, it was, here's where people have BYU's basketball expectations, and kind of here's where we've gotten.
The reality,
Steve Cleveland was going to the NCAA tournament, sort of, right? It was like
they were making the tournament.
They
could never get the win.
But it was, how are you going to get in this next era of basketball? So the hire of Dave Rose, but do you remember? I go back to another moment where do you remember the press conference that was held in the Marriott Center when Dave Rose abruptly retired? And you remember that moment? I remember being down there in the Marriott Center and watching this whole thing. And Tom Holmoe was 1,000-yard stare because it was a hard moment for that program, right? Because you're transitioning out of the guy who coached one of the most important athletes in the history of BYU athletics, not just basketball, but the Dave Rose era was. It was coming to an end in that very moment there. And I remember listening to the remarks of Tom Holmoe, and he was. I mean, it was a tough moment, and everybody was. It was there. There were so many people in that building that were just no dry eyes because of the circumstances of Dave Rose, leaving the program and what's going to be next and all those things, right? So I think of Tom Holmoe saying, "I've got this advice for this person. You always have to understand what the university is, number one." So there's no movement on that.
Everybody
right?
that's strayed from that has failed there.
Oh yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But it was a fascinating listen to go through that as well. And so we've got tons going on in the program. So yesterday, hey, listen, I know we brought you a lot of BYU athletics talk yesterday, but that was the news of the day, And so we wanted to make sure people got to be able to hear also the comments from Tom Holmoe today as he officially told everybody how it was and what went down. And look, BYU, they couldn't have done better from an athletic standpoint and leadership of the university than Shane Reese and Keith Vorking, who are the two people who Tom Holmoe reported to, right, during the last little bit. And that's just as important. And PK brought it up yesterday. There's that extra layer between the athletic director and the president of the university. Yeah. There's that vice president or president of athletics, basically, which is what Keith Vorking is. And these guys understand how important the brand is right there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. And coming up a little bit later, we're going to have the top 10. This is the hardest conversation we've had. The top 10 athletes of the Tom Holmoe era.
So many great ones to choose from.
And I don't know how to actually throw out what that looks like. What the criteria are. It's like people love them.
All-Americans, impact on the program's perception.
That's you. But there's some times where big names sometimes come up too. You know what I mean?
There's lesser-known names that had great impact.
Right.
Maybe people.
I know, and we're going to leave people off. We're going to leave people off, and I'm sure we're going to get in trouble. But like I said, you can email our boss about it. Hey, we got more to go around the corner. Yes, rugby, speaking of being around the corner, their season kicks off with the Utah Warriors coming right up, and we're going to be chatting with some coaches and some players right now. So stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's another edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry here, Jeremiah Jensen to my right. And just want to remind you, we're going to be on the road tomorrow. We are at the RV show, of course, at Mountain America Expo Center there in Sandy. We're there every year, a couple times. It's your opportunity to shop, compare, and buy the best RV of your dreams. So Thursday, we'll be there, all of our show long. So come down and high-five JJ. Get your picture with a famous TV guy. All right. This is a fun one for us because we're able to have a couple of New Zealanders here in the studio. Anytime we can improve the quality of the accent on the air for us, it's always a big deal for us. But the Utah Warriors rugby is starting up officially. Game number 1 of the season on Sunday. Or no, 2 Sundays. I guess it's 2 Sundays from now. So we're the 23rd. We're kicking off the season. Coach Cooper here in studio with us. Paul Lasike, of course. You recognize that name of BYU football fame and also a stint in the NFL. And of course, his world of rugby began way before his world of football. So, guys, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for having us.
All right, season starting up here. Paul, first of all, what's the offseason like for rugby compared to trying to get yourself ready, right, and for a football season? I would imagine a lot of the same type of training, but rugby's a totally different beast, man.
Yeah, it's similar. Here with the rugby season, it's a little bit shorter than a football season. So we have a longer off season. So, yeah, I like to just spend my first month or so just relaxing with the family and then kind of building into it as we get closer to preseason. And so that's kind of what I've done this past off season.
Coach, you got a roster here. You're ready to go. Got Paul on the roster. That's a big get for you guys. You guys trying to take another step here, win more games, win more matches. What do you like about this roster, and what gives you hope that this is going to be another positive step this season?
Yeah, Jeremiah, off air we just talked about it wasn't a good season last year. So, and I think the first thing is honesty. You've just got to say, hey, look, it wasn't good. So what do we do about it? Big thing for us is understanding who we are, our identity, and then aligning the players, aligning everything we do to our identity. So I think that was a big thing. We've gone and got the players, the character of the players that we know are going to work hard. We know are going to go into the trenches, go and fight. when the going gets tough, they'll front. So that's the big thing for me. I think there's a saying out there that talent wins matches, talent wins games, character wins championships. Now, that combination of talent and character, I think we've got that this year. And we're like everyone. We want to win a championship. It was poor last year, so our mindset is around that, is everything we do. We've got a philosophy in the team: compete to win, pressure to play. Compete to win means everything we do, we compete. And I think we've got the athletes who are competing every day, and that's the exciting thing for me at the moment. We've had a pre-season match where it went well, and now we go to the real stuff. So I think we're sitting in a good position.
What's the world of rugby like right now in the U.S.? I know a lot of people are getting it. I mean, it's gaining traction day on day. And when you see the success of the national team that they've had at levels that we haven't seen the Team USA have for a long, long time, and to see that kind of and the youth movement, of course, and all those things. It's not just getting people to understand like what Utah Warriors rugby is, but like the sport overall, Coach. When you see it here, when you come from a place like New Zealand, and you watch the highest level of rugby, and then you come and you go, okay, let's build that here. How far have we come here in the U.S. to really get rugby on the map?
I think this MLR, for a start, the MLR is into its was started in 2018. Every year I see the MLR, it gets stronger. This year it's going to get stronger. The following year it will get stronger. In 2031, the Rugby World Cup is here in America for the men's, and 2033 it's for the women. So, we know what happened with soccer post the Soccer World Cup. I suspect there's going to be an explosion there. But going back to what we're seeing at the moment nationally, the American Eagles did really well on their tour last year. I think they won 3 out of 3. Now, that hasn't happened for a while. So I think the MLR is growing. I think the national team is getting stronger. I think we're sitting in a position now where I think American rugby is ready to progress. There is a base within the professional element. There's a base or a strength or a platform within the international. So I think we're sitting in quite a strong position currently.
You guys are both from New Zealand, where rugby is a religion. And you see here in Utah, there is a great rugby community here. And I'm curious how much you guys have enjoyed that. Paul, at BYU, you guys win a national championship at BYU and all the support. There's a lot of young people that play rugby here. What's it like in this community, the rugby that you see here, compared to maybe other markets in the United States, the excitement? I know you guys draw really well at Zions Bank Stadium.
No, it's awesome. There is a big rugby community here in Utah. And like what Coach was saying in the other question as well, it's grown massively, especially with the women's rugby. Mm-hmm. So obviously with the women's winning a bronze at the Olympics, I also coached down at BYU, the women's team, and there were almost 100 girls showing up to the walk-ons because of that.
Wow.
And so a lot of these young faces are starting to see with the Olympics coming to the USA, and with the growth of the sport, they're trying to get them in, and that's the whole goal with rugby here as well. But yeah, comparable to other markets as well, it's really strong. I've played in different parts of America, and we play at Zions Bank Stadium, and we always have a massive showing from the crowd. Last year was almost 4,500 people, which is at Zions Bank, and so in MLR that was the highest attendance on average. And so it's been cool to. I've been here for almost 15 years in Utah, and it's been really cool to see the growth of the sport.
And Coach, you see that kind of attendance when you mentioned you guys did not have a good year. Imagine what it could be like here when you guys win big at this level.
Well, I think, Jeremiah, with that, look, we got I think we got 11,500 people to AFF for a game last year, which was
awesome.
a dead rubber.
Yeah.
So you take things personally. You're a coach. You've got a job to do. You've got to win. I coached in France. I've coached in Japan, and it's no different. The Japanese have an expectation to win. The French have an expectation to win. The owners have that expectation, and I put that expectation on myself. So it was really disappointing. So if we can do what we say we're going to do, and we've got to put it out there. If you don't put it out there, you don't achieve it. So we're putting it out there. We're out there to win a championship. Now, there's 10 other teams saying the same thing at the moment. But we're putting it out there, and we're having a go at it. And we get to our season. I would expect if we start doing well because of the great support we get, that stadium is fantastic. We play Anthem from North Carolina, I think the 30th of May. At AFF. Now, I'm hoping if we're going well, and we expect to do that, there's 15,000 plus people there, and that'll be great for sport in Utah, great for rugby in Utah.
If you're interested, you can just go to warriorsrugby.com and you can look right there. And I'm telling you, look at the season ticket prices compared to what people are doing in some of these other sports, and the value's phenomenal. So go check it out. You're gonna have your first game there in Chicago, and then you come home. I think March 1st is you guys' first match here at home.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I go, somebody who's never experienced it before, because there's one thing we have the built-in fan base who are rugby lovers. The atmosphere there. Explain a little bit, Paul, what you get when you go to an MLR game and to watch the Utah Warriors take on. I guess New Orleans is probably going to be you guys' first match here at home, then, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Just if you like physicality, if you like action, and you know they often say there's the mixture of soccer and basketball, the hand-eye coordination, bit of wrestling with tackling. If you like the physicality, that's what you can expect when you get there. And just guys just bashing each other pretty much.
What?
So.
In rugby?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Coach, what
Who
is this?
doesn't love watching that?
What's the parity like in the league? The word parity is used a lot, and we talk about like how that's what makes the NFL so good is that on any given Sunday, even if people make fun of the Browns, they could still beat the Patriots on a great day or whatever, or some of these top teams. What's it like in the MLR, like among teams? Is this like, dude, you show up on match day and anybody can beat anybody, or how is it? Is there like a class of the entire league?
No, I think, Alex, what you just said there is that's really interesting this year. I think that this is going to be the closest fought MLR. There's normally been a team, maybe two teams, that you can almost be at 80% and you think, you're going to get away with it. You won't get away with it this year. The competition is really tight. We have 5 in our conference and they're all quality teams. There's 6 in the other conference. There's the travel factor, obviously. There's all those sort of things. But in terms of the talent across the board, it is going to be a tight one. We have Chicago first up away. Unfortunately, it's round 2. We missed round 1 for a bye, which is a bit strange. But we've got to be ready for round 2. And then we've got New Orleans at home. So those two are tough. Then it's Houston. That's tough. Then it's away to Miami. Then it's away to Seattle. Then it's home to New England.
Those travel dates by themselves are
Schedule
tough.
makers did you guys no favors.
Well, the thing is, if you're in New Zealand and you travel 4 hours, you're in another country.
Right.
Seattle to Miami is like as far as you could get.
Exactly.
That's a 6-hour flight of you guys having to get there and play a rugby, and you're still here in the U.S. We want to see you guys have the best success possible. WarriorsRugby.com is the website. Go check out the schedule. They're firing up. On the road first to Chicago on the 23rd, and then at the 1st of March, your first home match here at Zions Bank Stadium. You guys, it's going to be awesome. We're really excited about it.
I have to mention, if you can't get out to the games, you can stream all the games on KSLSports.com.
What?
We are your home for Utah Warriors rugby.
Guys, thanks for hanging out today. We appreciate it.
Cheers, thank you
very much.
All right.
guys.
Take a break here. We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. Appreciate it. In a couple of minutes here, we're going to chat with the guys from Culligan Water, get you hooked up with the cleanest, best drinking water on the planet. JJ, first, though, guess what? Valentine's Day is 2 days away. Here's the good news. If you order something online right now, it's going to get here Monday the 16th or Monday the 17th, and you're going to be poop out of luck, all right? So why don't you just go hit up the folks at Minky in one of their stores, and you get a 50% off promo code right now from us. Zone 50 in stores to get 50% off. That's right. 50% off a Minky Couture blanket. You can also go to minkycouture.com and check out what the inventory is, and you get that figured out. Minky Couture's got you covered for Valentine's Day.
She can't get mad if she's getting a Minky Couture blanket.
And look, and
Nobody's
pretend like it's for her, and then you use it. You steal it.
Smart.
Guys pretend like, oh, that Minky, that's not for me. Give me a burlap sack. It's like, no. You want the good stuff too. All right.
Nothing like sitting on a couch watching a movie covered in Minky.
Absolutely. JJ, would you rather? Here's how it goes. I'll give you one. Would you rather be at the Jazz Lakers game tonight? All right. Jazz Lakers game tonight. Or would you rather go to one of those awkward Dallas Mavericks games there in Dallas when the team is in town. I want to take a flight and just be a fly on the wall at American Airlines Center and just look around at Dallas fans.
Who's getting kicked out tonight?
Did you see the SMU crowd in their basketball game? You were chanting "Fire Nico" at the SMU game.
Yeah.
Was he there in attendance?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay. So which one would you rather have?
Oh, I'm flying into Dallas.
Yes.
I love the awkwardness.
Schadenfreude.
I've seen Luka play. What did he do?
Schadenfreude.
Let's go enjoy the drama.
Enjoying other people's struggles. That's what we want to do. We fly down there and go, oh, man, it's a shame what you guys are going through right now. I can't get enough.
Put it in my veins.
The awkwardness is so
then
much
I'm
fun.
reminded that they made the Lakers better. Then I get angry about it.
Yeah. Well,
see how that ruined that? That kind of ruined the fun, didn't it?
tickets to the game tonight. We gave those all away, and those are a massive ticket, by the way. The tickets to the Jazz Lakers game tonight is well north of $180 for the cheapest ticket.
Wow. We've seen why?
Because
we've seen Luka play before.
I know you
it's
have.
not his first rodeo here in Utah.
People are waiting to see. They're like, "Hey,
he's
Luka's
come here twice a year, every year, and we've had a playoff series with him."
Hey, but don't worry, LeBron James is listed as probable. Luka's listed as probable, but there's more. Bronny is listed as probable too. So we might get a double. We might get a double. We might get a double dose of the James family tonight. And Luka, of course. All right, take the break here. We'll come back. When we do, got another guest right around the corner, Myles Simmons. He is a writer for Pro Football Talk and NBC Sports. We'll chat with him next about this, the culmination of the NFL season. More to go. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is like a.
It's Jimmy Live.
I know. I was gonna say it sounded a little bit like for a moment there. It was like the John Tesh version of it. Like he's like, can I riff on this? Can I do all along the Watchtower here for you? You're like,
now that's a collab that I'd love to hear.
Because, he rocks now.
Can we get a mashup of John Tesh and Jimi Hendrix?
I'm telling you, we already know what did he do on the newest John Tesh NBC?
That's blasphemy.
NBA on NBC.
Blasphemy.
He rocked out. He got the electric guitar out, and he goes, I want to jam.
Stick with the original.
I know, but,
Tickle the ivories, Mr. Tesh.
They had to do a little something different for the NBA.
You know what I think
NBC.
that Round Ball Rock needed?
What?
Lyrics.
Don't worry, because Dave Tesh hooked you up.
Dave's got you covered.
All right. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the best protein bar. Give it a shot for yourself. The cut, top of the hour here, best story of the hour. Myles Simmons joining us. He is a writer for Pro Football Talk and NBC Sports. Let's get to the cut right now.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show brought to you by the family of Doug Smith dealerships. In American Fork and Spanish Fork, get the Dodge, Ram, Chevy, Subaru, Kia, and now Mitsubishi. All there in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. Myles Simmons joining us right here from Pro Football Talk and NBC Sports. Myles, you got a couple days to regurgitate what was going on in the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts now that we're a couple days removed from the Chiefs absolutely getting obliterated by the Eagles?
It was mostly that. The Chiefs just didn't really have anything offensively against what was an outstanding Eagles defensive performance. It honestly is one of the better defensive performances you're ever going to see in a Super Bowl. You get to basically the end of the third quarter, and the Chiefs only had 3 first downs. And, they ended up getting some cosmetic touchdowns. They make it 40-22. And so the annals of history will maybe smile upon the Chiefs a little bit more than, what we know happened in that game. But my gosh, the way Vic Fangio had those guys ready to play, you'll see from the coordinator Vic Fangio, it was really something to see. And it was honestly one of the most impressive defensive performances I've seen in some time.
Maybe we should have saw this coming, but we held the Chiefs in such high regard. They found ways to win close games all year. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They got back to the Super Bowl. It just felt like they were going to win that third straight title. And when they got obliterated like that, it was just so stunning. where do the Chiefs go from here now? Because it feels like they got knocked off their pedestal a bit, and I'm not sure how they're going to recover because they have some issues.
Oh, they do. I mean, I guess the way they're going to recover is because they still have the best quarterback in the league, and they have one of the greatest head coaches of all time, right? But I think one of the underrated elements of the entire Chiefs season was just how poorly they were playing along the offensive line. Right, you got to remember they had their all-pro left guard, Joe Thuney, slide over to play left tackle because everybody was just acting like a turnstile over there, and it really frustrated Patrick Mahomes. And so they were able to get through the AFC with Joe Thuney at left tackle. But, when you're playing the kind of pass rush that the Eagles have, and you got butt kickers all along the defensive line from defensive end to defensive tackle to defensive tackle to defensive end, and they can rotate guys in the way that they do, and they play such good coverage on the back end as well. I mean, it makes it so that we probably should have seen it coming a little bit more than we did. But, the Chiefs were 15-1 when they clinched the 1 seed in Week 17, right? Like that is not impressive, especially given the fact that they played more football than anybody over the course of the last few years. I mean, you go to 2 Super Bowls in a row, especially now that we've got the 18-week season, and you play that much football, and then to be able to get to where they got to, I still think is very impressive. Now, there's a reason why, we've never seen a three-peat champion, and I guess I got to give some money to Pat Riley since I said that, in the NFL. But we've never even seen, a team win 2 consecutive Super Bowls and then go to a third. So the Chiefs, I think, still have the foundation, right? When you've got Mahomes, when you've got Reed, when you've got their general manager and Brett Veach, they've earned the benefit of the doubt. But, yeah, I just kind of tend to think that the Eagles might have done that to anybody on that day, at that stage, with 2 weeks to prepare. I think they could have done it to Baltimore. I think they could have done it to Buffalo as well.
One of the things that's been fascinating is after the Super Bowl hits, then, of course, we start to get into the way too early guesses on who's going to be the Super Bowl favorite for next year. But I was more interested in kind of trying to make that guess happen about who next year's Washington Commanders are going to be from this year. The team that maybe has just enough of these characters that are this cast of characters that are coming together at the right time and maybe are due, and people are overlooking them.
Oh, it might be the Chicago Bears. I think in order for that to happen, you either need a new quarterback or a new coach. And the Bears got a new coach in Ben Johnson. And, by all accounts, it seems like he's ready for this opportunity. I think we all are aware of what Ben Johnson did as offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions and how he got Jared Goff's career back on track, and then all the things that he was able to do creatively to make them one of the top offenses in the National Football League over the last couple of years. So I think when you have somebody who is as talented as a Caleb Williams, and you've got pieces like Aroma Doomsday, who they also drafted last year at receiver, they've got other talented guys that, I think that's a team that could be pretty good and could surprise some folks next year. But the other issue with them is that they play in a pretty loaded NFC North. And, we don't necessarily know what the Vikings are going to do at quarterback, whether or not they're going to keep Sam Darnold or just transition to J.J. McCarthy, who they picked in the first round last year. But Detroit still probably going to be also really good. In Green Bay, they've got a great combination at head coach and quarterback with Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. So I think the Bears can be a team that can make it to the postseason, maybe make some noise. But a lot of things are going to have to go right, especially given their division.
Yeah, it's interesting as we kind of take a look ahead, the way too early. We all love doing that. Do you think the Eagles are the favorite next year? Do you think the Chiefs can bounce back if they can add a couple pieces? Or do you see somebody else being able to finally turn that corner and make it happen? Who's your way too early favorite next year?
Well, I think just by virtue of the way that they won it and the pieces that are still going to be there, the Eagles, come into next year having the benefit of the doubt in my mind. Now, Josh Sweat, a guy that in my mind should have been MVP of the Super Bowl after he got 2.5 sacks, forced Patrick Mahomes into throwing one of his interceptions. I just feel like that's a guy, because he's going to be a free agent, we'll see what kind of salary he commands. But, there's no better performance that you could go into free agency and have than the one that he just did in the Super Bowl. I think, look, the Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship game and in each of Patrick Mahomes' 7 seasons as a starter. So until they don't reach that, I'm going to assume that they're going to be there. And I think Buffalo is probably going to be there too. The Ravens, they've still got Lamar Jackson. They've still got Derrick Henry. They're also going to be in the mix. But, this next year, this might be it for Buffalo. Josh Allen somehow won the MVP, even though he wasn't first-team All-Pro quarterback. But he had an outstanding season. And, that team was supposed to kind of be rebuilding in 2024, and instead Josh Allen just elevated his play that much better and became an MVP. And I think Joe Brady going into another year as their offensive coordinator is going to be good for them. They got a new special teams coordinator, so some of those mistakes they can maybe clean up. But yeah, it is way too early to say it, but I kind of think that going into 2025, it might be Buffalo's time.
It's an interesting thing to try to figure out and handicap what these teams are going to do in the offseason here. But one of the biggest, stories, obviously, every year are the coaching hires that are made and the carousel that is the head coaching world. And you saw, of course, Kellen Moore getting picked up by the Saints. Of all the new, I love how they're all 30-something too. By the way, this year's like everybody's 30-something, and you can be a head coach in the league, except for Pete Carroll, of course, who doubles up everybody's age. But
right.
Of all the moves that were made, which one sticks?
Well, Mike Vrabel to the Patriots. I think that he could be the Patriots' next coach for the next 15 years or so. And part of that is just that I think Mike Vrabel is an outstanding game day coach, and he's an outstanding motivator. Also, the Kraft family knows him, they trust him, they love him already. I kind of tend to think that if Gerard Mayo hadn't had it in his contract that he was going to succeed Bill Belichick, and the Krafts had known that Mike Vrabel was going to be available last year, then Mike Vrabel would have already been the Patriots head coach in 2024. But, at that point, why would they think that the Titans would ever get rid of Mike Vrabel? It just so happened that Amy Adams-Strunk wanted to make some changes, and she keeps wanting to make changes when it comes to the Titans football operation. So, yeah, I can see Mike Vrabel being the Patriots head coach for a very long time.
One of the reasons why the Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl championship was they made the bold choice to acquire Saquon Barkley, and that was a difference maker for them. And as I'm looking into this offseason, I'm curious what you think. Who could be that difference-making transaction out there? We see Myles Garrett wants to be traded. There's some free agents out there. Who's that player out there that could be on the move that you think could be that game-changing, that guy that moves the meter for one of these teams that's trying to contend?
Yeah, well, certainly if Myles Garrett does end up being traded, then he's that guy. He's generational. He's already a Hall of Fame player, and he's not even 30 yet, So that's something where you look at it and you say, okay, if you can add that guy at that edge position, he can certainly be a difference maker for you defensively, particularly if you are already a contending team and you kind of feel like you're a piece away. Myles Garrett might be worth 2 pieces. He's that kind of guy like an Aaron Donald where you add him and everything is going to get better for you defensively. But the Browns don't want to get rid of him, and for good reason, and they don't necessarily have to do that. So that's one where, you look at it and you're like, I don't know if it's actually going to happen. But somebody who I do believe is going to be on the open market is T. Higgins, wide receiver from the Bengals. And when he's healthy, he is a terrific receiver. He just sometimes gets overshadowed by Jamar Chase, who is undoubtedly one of the best receivers in the National Football League. We're talking top 3 guy there. T. Higgins, I think if he's in the right situation, he can at least be a top 10 guy for you. And, the way that he can elevate, the way he can stretch the field, those things are pretty special. And so he's probably not going to stay with Cincinnati, even though Joe Burrow really, really wants the Bengals to keep him. The Bengals have to pay a bunch of different guys, and they just have been reluctant in the past to make moves that other teams might make in order to try and make a team top heavy in one place. We've seen it time and time again. They franchise a guy, they draft his replacement, then they let the guy go to free agency. That's where T. Higgins is now. So as somebody who could potentially command $30 million a year on the open market, if T. Higgins goes to the right place, I'm not saying he's going to be, a Saquon Barkley have a record kind of season, but if he stays healthy, he can certainly get to 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns and really be one of those elite guys.
How How do you think Saquon Barkley follows up this last year that he had? Is it one of those that you look at and you go, oh, he's just going to be rolling for the next few years? Or now do people see what he can do? And obviously it's like, you already knew what he could do, but I don't think people knew he could take it to that level. What's the next act, I guess, in Philadelphia for Saquon?
Well, it's interesting because you don't often see running backs go for that many yards 2 years in a row. I mean, Derrick Henry is kind of one of the exceptions, right? Because he's been that elite guy and he takes such good care of his body, and he's been in situations where the offensive line has been able to help him get that way. And so I think just based on the way Philadelphia is and has been for years and years and years with such a great offensive line, I don't know that Saquon's going to go for 2,000 yards in the regular season again, but I would be surprised if he doesn't have 1,500, 1,600 at least next year. I mean, that offense is still going to lean on the run game. And what we discovered this year, is that Philadelphia can win in different ways. And this is how they won a championship before. This is how they got to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They have shown that they can pass it, they can run it. And Jalen Hurts has continued to make strides and make improvements in the passing game. Now, the question is going to be, who are they going to get to replace Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator? Because I think we saw when Shane Steichen left the team, to go be the Colts offensive coordinator a couple of years ago, they did take a step back offensively in 2023. And so how are they going to be able to make sure that there is that good continuity? How are they going to be able to make sure that they can still get the things done that they need to get done, and that Jalen Hurts continues to take steps in this progression into becoming a truly elite quarterback and not just a Super Bowl winning quarterback? They've got to solve that. But Saquon Barkley is still going to be the backbone and the engine of that offense, I think, for sure.
You've written about Jed York in the 49ers situation, and he's supporting John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, which he absolutely should. And he says they believe Brock Purdy's going to be there for a long time. He's their franchise guy. You talk to people around the league. Does everybody else around the league believe that he can be that guy? And are they making the right decision here when they extend him?
Well, the interesting thing about Brock Purdy is that other than Matt Ryan in 2016, there's not been anybody who has been probably more efficient or better at running the Kyle Shanahan system. And so they've had, a couple of years now of Brock Purdy being on the lowest possible salary that you could have for a starting quarterback. And they haven't been able to give him more money because of the way the contract work and the league rules in that way. And so now Brock Purdy's not going to take the field without another new deal. And quarterbacks don't grow on trees. This is not the best quarterback class, right, in terms of the draft or anything like that. So the 49ers don't really have many good options other than paying Brock Purdy right now. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think Brock Purdy, with his play, and especially in 2023, things kind of got off the rails in 2024. And it's hard when you go to the Super Bowl and you have the longest season that you could possibly have, and then you have a shorter off season, and then guys start getting hurt, and then the system it's that. It's hard to be able to recoup from that, which is part of why I've been so impressed with Kansas City over the past few years. And even though they lost in the Super Bowl in the manner in which they did, to go 15-1 and 15-2 in the regular season totally, but 15-1 in games that mattered, and then make it all the way, to the last game of the season is still really impressive to me. But to answer your question, I don't know that they really have any other choice but to pay Brock Purdy. However, if they can reload at the pieces that they need around him, Brandon Ayuk comes back. Juwan Jennings maybe takes another step forward. You trade Deebo Samuel and you get something out of it. George Kittle, he's getting older, yes, but you keep him around. I think that the 49ers can still be back in the postseason next year, certainly, and then potentially make another run at it.
Myles Simmons, you can find his byline, Pro Football Talk, and, of course, if you want to follow it and get the best breakdowns, Myles will give you that, and you can follow him on Twitter as well. And Myles, we appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to any time we can get you back, talk some NFL here as things get going here. And thanks for being on the program here with us.
Sure, guys, no problem. Take care.
There you go, Myles
Thanks,
Simmons. Ah, man.
The NFL's always fascinating.
Yeah, but the rich get richer, don't they? I just look and it's like, oh, the Eagles are going to be good for a while.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen
but there's other good teams too.
I know, but there's going to be, because we talked about the Washington Commanders and we talked about how, oh man, that was awesome. What a great year. And the reality is that they have just as much of a shot as finishing third or fourth in the NFC East this next year as they do going to and winning 2 more playoff games next year. That's the way the NFL is sometimes.
Maybe Jaden Daniels has a sophomore slump. We don't know.
Crazy. And injuries, of course, play a huge part of that. You never know what that's going to look like.
How many close games did they win?
Yeah, and ask C.J. Stroud what it's like to lose your best weapons in your second year.
Suddenly you can look very average, right? You're only as good as the guys around you.
Crazy. And we're only as good as the guys around us. We'll come back when we do. The task of putting together the top 10 players, the top 10 athletes.
Oh, is it time?
It is time for us to argue. We're going to fight.
Got to make the deadline.
We got more to go. Stay right here, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the biggest name. You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wasn't it always funny because you never really knew exactly what he was saying in this song? I met a strange lady. She made me nervous. What? She took me in and gave me breakfast. It's like, all right, settle down.
What are we writing about here?
He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich.
It's the most Australian. Did he also put a shrimp on the barbie?
We should bring Vegemite in and make Alex, our producer, try it.
We should not do that.
I'm not going to eat it, but...
Neither am I.
I'm just telling you right now. Hey, I got that call. You got the call that you dread. I mean, not the worst call you get, but I got a call during the break. You can get,
Do you want to get into it?
I need to vent.
Let it out. We've all been there, but let it out.
Hey, Dad. Basement's flooding. Yeah, the baby turned on the sink upstairs and let it roll. Where were you guys? Hanging out. Okay.
No one watching the baby.
No, that's the thing is they are, but they're not. Like, it's the kind of thing where they're in the room right next to her. And the baby does this thing where she looks around and then does like a little sneak off. And guess what her favorite thing to do is? Turn on the sink. That's a good thing.
That's a strange hobby.
She's like, hey, man, I like that. Where'd that sink? Y'all got any more of those sinks I could turn on? So I just told you my favorite thing is that, we got water coming down through the can lights. Love that.
I'm sorry.
And then
I've been there.
And then you've got, and then you got to come home to it. But I just told you, this will be the next most blissful 2 hours that I can imagine. Because I don't have to be there right now in this moment. I'm not even going to transport myself there mentally right now, okay? So that's where we're at in the Kirry household.
Let's focus on sports for the next 90
Hey, everybody,
minutes.
have 7 kids. That'll be amazing.
Have kids, they said. It'll be wonderful, they said.
Have kids, they said. Have 7 kids, they said.
I don't think
nobody
anybody
said that.
If so, they gave you terrible advice.
I would down an entire jar of Vegemite if I could take back the baby turning on the sink this afternoon, all right? I don't know what it's going to cost me, but here we are. You know what's funny? The irony of that is I was like, Ed, hey, I'm talking to the Culligan guys. I'm like, and they're like, you can set your thing to tell you if the water's running and if your basement's flooding. While my basement was just flooding, all right? So figure it out. That's life, all right? We have a very, very important list to get through. It's a weird list, and I understand that it is. I was just trying to imagine in the 20 years that Tom Holmoe was the athletic director of BYU. Let's put together a top 10 list with some honorable mentions because it's hard to narrow down 20 years of dozens of sports and thousands of athletes who have gone through under the tutelage of the athletic director Tom Holmoe, and to try to pick out the top 10, and frankly, it's hard to put numbers on them, except for maybe number 1, right? And so
the number one's obvious. From there, it's quite a debate.
Okay. So number 1, let's get it out of the way. This is somebody you and I both got to cover. Fun times. The Jimmer Fredette era at BYU, the Jimmermania era at BYU was as big of a moment for BYU athletics as they've ever had in their history. Is that wrong to say?
That's correct.
The Naismith Award and being the best player in the entire country and doing it in the fashion that he did is something that is usually reserved for other places. That's why it was so special, right? Because why would BYU have the best play? Listen, Heisman Trophy winner in 1989 or 1990, Ty Detmer. You go, yeah, when's that going to happen again?
It hasn't since.
And it hasn't since.
Not even close.
And, the Naismith Award goes to Danny Ainge in the 80s, and you go, yeah, but you know what? That's hard to do.
Lightning in a bottle.
You'll never see that again.
Not going to happen again.
So Jimmer Mania was the top, probably athlete moment, singular performance of a nationally recognized and just the best in the entire country for one season. It was phenomenal. After that, JJ, the floor is yours. At this point, what we started to do was yell at each other about players that were, whether or not, how do you put these people on the list? Is it because they're all Americans? Is it because they were so beloved by fans? Because they were just amazing in their accomplishments in one or two games? Or there's all sorts of things that we got into. So help me understand some of these names here.
Yeah. So do you want me to do some honorable mentions? Yes. Or do you want me to get right into it?
Let's just get right into it. Let's just do it.
I got Dennis Pitta number 2. Unanimous All-American.
Which, again, didn't happen that many times.
During an era of a lot of wins, made some incredible catches, and then obviously went on to have success in the NFL, winning a Super Bowl. His career was cut short by an awful hip injury, but Dennis Pitta stood out among all the great football players during the last 20 years of BYU football. So I've got him number 2. Number 3, this might surprise you. Well, no, it won't. I got Kyle Van Noy.
Well, no, it won't.
Kyle Van Noy was just outstanding at BYU. He's got a great story for BYU. We all know how his career started there and things he was able to overcome and who he became there and who he is now. He is the quintessential BYU success story. And what he accomplished as a player there was pretty phenomenal. So I've got him number 3. It would be easy, really easy to just start listing football players, but you really have to give credit for the Olympic sports at BYU and the impact they've had and some of the accomplishments of those players. I got Ashley Hatch next, who will likely be on the U.S. women's national team, who's finally getting her due at the professional level and at that level. Hopefully we get to see her at a World Cup or an Olympics soon. But she was the biggest soccer star in BYU history, and then she ushered in this era of going to college cups. That BYU women's soccer program is one of the best in the country. Mm-hmm. She was part of that. Courtney Wayman, multiple national champion at BYU in track and field. She was an Olympian. She was at the 2024 games in Paris. One of the best track and field stars that BYU's ever produced. So I've got her in there.
What's funny is that you think about, the cross country team that won the men's and women's title last year. Like, that's insane. That this isn't.
They both won national championships in the same year.
It's crazy. And we tend to go, Olympic sports, yeah, that's cute. The thing is, the athletic director has to make these hires, has to do these searches for these great coaches. There's an expectation. BYU has, there's a reason that they're always in the conversation for the Commissioner's Cup because they have, very similar to what the reason that Stanford always wins it, which is they win all the other sports on top of, even though football and basketball, they might not be at the very top, they will be good across the board in the entire athletic department. And that's always been a big deal for Tom Holmoe.
BYU's always competing for that cup, and it's because they're so good with the Olympic sports. And so you have to give credit there, and you got to throw those names on here as some of the best athletes that BYU's ever produced. Here's my next one is also female athlete Jen Hampson, who was a 2-sport star at BYU.
Yes.
She was on a BYU women's basketball team that I believe reached the Sweet 16 or at least won a game under Juddy, and they've had some great players there. But she also helped lead the BYU women's volleyball team in 2014 to the national championship game.
Oh, yeah.
That is incredible. She accomplished so much in her time there. I've got her there at number 6.
Who else we got? Start rolling through here because there are some names that I don't know. Because I was asking about Jamal Williams. I was asking about Taysom Hill. And if you say, well, who are the best athletes to roll through BYU, it'd be pretty tough to make an argument to not have Taysom Hill there as one of the best athletes that's ever been through BYU because of of what he could accomplish at quarterback. And by the way, Jamal Williams and Taysom Hill, when they're there at the same time, you're kind of like, that's a great combo. And then when you see what they do at the professional level and you go, Oh, boy, I don't think BYU realized what they had in that exact moment that they had those guys. You knew how amazing they were.
They underachieved with those guys on the roster, if I'm going to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
It was during the era of independence. It was weird, but they did underachieve there. You can make their case, so let's do it now. Would you have Jamal Williams on the list or Taysom Hill, or would you have Max Hall, or would you have Austin Collie? Which football player would you have on the list?
So Max Hall, Austin Collie, what was the first one?
Jamal Williams or Taysom Hill.
See,
Jamal Williams is the all-time leading rusher in BYU
I know,
history.
and that's huge. And Jamal's probably my favorite player that's been through. Like when you talk about guys that we've enjoyed interviewing, guys that we loved watching have the success that they did. One of my favorite things was being on that sideline for that BYU Toledo game when he single-handedly beat Toledo in, was it 2 overtimes or 1? When he scored 5 touchdowns on 258 yards rushing or whatever it was. Max Hall is the best quarterback during the Tom Holmoe
The winningest
era.
quarterback in BYU history, right? He's got to go on there.
And Taysom was accomplished, certainly. And if you
Taysom Hill's the greatest athlete I've ever seen at BYU, and one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen. But injuries prevented him from reaching a level that Max Hall was able to reach in his 3 years
I
as a
think
starter.
Max Hall as a BYU quarterback, because that is when you think of BYU and quarterbacks, you think of BYU and quarterbacks. So you think of the football program, you think of what they churn out. The best quarterback during the Tom Holmoe era. Sorry, Zach Wilson fans. Sorry, John Beck fans. Sorry, Taysom Hill fans. Sorry, Riley Nelson personally. I apologize. But the best quarterback there at BYU during Tom Holmoe's era was Max Hall.
I put him on my top 10.
No question.
Michaela Clough, who was with the Utah Royals, but at BYU, she was an All-American. She was a star,
Again,
she
the
led
women's
BYU
soccer
to their
program,
first College Cup appearance. And I think that's if you can't ignore what that soccer program has done, and she's been right there with Ashley Hatch as one of the best to ever play there.
Were they there 2 years in a row?
They went 1 year and then went 2 years later, I believe.
And the second one was that shootout with Florida State in the
came
natty,
up
right?
just short.
Crazy. All right. Any other additions? I'm sure we're going to miss some. Hit up JJ on Twitter and make
throwing
fun
out
of his list.
Kenneth Rooks, who had an incredible
steeplechase
national championship. Remember the comeback run?
Yes.
Just incredible. He's been on, and then of course went to the Olympics and won a medal.
Yeah, not bad.
So if you consider what he did as a BYU athlete and then what he's done since, I've got to put him on that list. And then another name I'll throw out there is Alexa Gray, volleyball star, who was part of that run to a national championship. Some honorable mentions: Tyler Haws, Kyle Collinsworth.
Oh, Kyle Collinsworth. He wasn't an All-American.
The triple-double machine.
The most, and I don't think anybody's going to touch that, right?
He did get some All-American nods.
Yeah.
Not a unanimous, but Tyler Haws was the all-time leading scorer. I mean, Jimmer's not the all-time leading scorer in BYU history.
Yep.
Tyler Haws was able to do that.
Lexi Eaton-Rydalch.
Yes.
A WCC all-time leading scorer in men's and women's basketball.
Yep. Absolute star as a basketball player. Ronnie Jones-Perry, who might be the all-time best volleyball player at BYU. And Taylor Sander, who was an Olympian and a volleyball player.
Men's volleyball, yeah.
Connor Mance is another star, a runner as well. So those are some honorable mentions.
All right. I think you covered them all.
We did the best we could.
Yeah.
And we missed some. And the great list of great football players during this 20-year era was pretty impressive, too.
I just can't believe you put Max Hall over Taysom. I can't believe. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I did
someone
the
would
same
say,
thing.
what about Zach Wilson, right?
Oh, stop it. Look, he was awesome. And he was the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft.
John Beck in 2006 probably had one of the best single seasons in BYU history, right? So.
All right, let's take the break here. We'll come back. When we do, we've got tons more on the program. Let's have some fun the rest of the day. My goodness, it's I'm over here excited about the rest of the show because I don't have to think about my flooding basement. Okay, it's gonna be amazing. All right, so let's get through this together. I want to not think about that for the next couple of hours, and we'll do it this way. We're going to come back. We have our Jazz Daily coming up next. We also have It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. We got some stuff to give away. So we'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You know what's coming. Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz. It's time! All season long and even in the off season. It's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Utah Jazz versus the Los Angeles Lakers tonight. It's all part of your coverage right here that you get on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's your radio home of the Utah Jazz. 7 p.m. tip, yeah? 6 p.m. pre? Okay. At least it's not waiting around till 8:30 to watch to see how many minutes that Luka Dončić is going to get.
By the way, 2 million people watched that Jazz-Lakers game.
What's that compared to on a regular NBA game on like a
maybe a million?
Yeah. So what is a Sunday?
Double the audience for a Monday night regular season NBA game.
But like, what does a Sunday like Lakers Knicks middle of the season kind of game get?
Yeah, in that range I mentioned.
Okay, that's cool.
Not 2 million people.
I love it.
It's good for the league.
I don't have tickets for that because we gave them all out yesterday. But I tell you what I do have tickets for because it's a Win Ticket Wednesday. You can win tickets to see Kevin Hart, yes, the Kevin Hart, in the Acting My Age tour coming to Delta Center on April 18th. All you have to do is give us a call right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. And you can get yourself a pair of tickets. You can also join Ben this Thursday from 10 to noon at Peach Window and Doors, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. So for tonight, JJ, Luka Dončić, and this says James, so I'm assuming they're talking about Bronny being probable for tonight. And he is, by the way. He's on the injury report.
That's why everyone's buying these tickets, right?
Yeah,
I want to come see Bronny.
Luka, LeBron, Bronny, and Austin Reeves, who had the elbow issue. He's also going to be listed as probable. These guys are probably going to all play. So you're going to see Luka in uniform, wearing the 77 with the Lakers across the front, which still looks really, really weird. Colin Sexton, by the way, still out with the ankle. So that's the only notable out for the Jazz. Oh, KJ Martin's still out. When is he going to be back, do you think?
He's conditioning after an injury, so hopefully soon.
Is that like
trying to get back in shape,
like Luka conditioning? KJ Martin, man, he's chubby. I don't know about that guy.
No, I don't think he's conditioning by eating cheeseburgers.
No.
I think he's actually trying to get back.
Did Danny Ainge steal a beer out of his hand?
He would if he could.
Oh my goodness. We'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Hockey Club, going to join us, and he's going to talk about what this Four Nations Cup is going to look like between Team USA, who's taking on Finland tomorrow. Everything's kicking off tonight, though, on TNT. You got Canada and Sweden. Look, this is going to be a fun thing. If you've already been getting into hockey this year, there's another way to get into it. Mike is going to join us next. I'm going to ask him about the nerve-wracking moments of that shootout on Sunday as well. So stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. That's a bright, poppy, happy song. I love it. If you met our producer, Alex, you would think, is he 48 years old? Is he 61 years old and is working in his garage?
You rocking Billy Joel all the time?
Listen, where's the Billy Joel coming from, Alex? Oh, no. Say, I've always been a huge fan. I celebrate his entire catalog. That's what you have to say. You do it from there. Bottom line is, welcome back to the program. Thanks for being with us. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. It's the protein bar that doesn't quit. It's amazing if you want to do meal replacement, if you want to do a boost throughout the day for that protein hit. You got yourself the G2G bar found in the refrigerated section in Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section, as I said. Let's get to the cut right here. It's brought to you by Trajan Wealth, your local trusted financial fiduciaries. Visit their website, TrajanWealth.com. Mike Folta is the radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Hockey Club, and he joins us right now on the program. Mike, thanks for being with us, man.
JJ and Alex, I am opening up my Utah collegiate recruitment. As you guys know, I'm from the Midwest. I am opening up my recruitment. If anybody would like me to be a fan of their Utah team, I am now open to any NIL deals.
Wow.
I was in Logan last night watching the Aggies beat the wheels off the Colorado State Rams on the hardwood. Great atmosphere.
Was that your Spectrum experience?
Was that your first trip to the Spectrum?
Spectrum Magic.
First trip to the Spec, and I was falling in love. It was outstanding. So the 247 or Rivals.com, whatever your recruiting site is, the crystal ball indicator right now is leaning Utah State. But I am open to any and all offers.
Don't sleep on the Utah Valley Wolverines, currently first place in the WAC.
Also, I will say 2 stars suits you. I think that was really great. You got the 2 stars from the local scouts. That's good. Mike,
2 stars.
Look, you could be Josh. Hey, Josh Allen was 0 stars. You think you're better than Josh Allen? That's fine. All right, it's okay. I was listening to your call on Sunday. I was kind of mixing between the radio and the TV side of things. You know, we're prepping for Super Bowl stuff, and so I was in the car for part of it when they were up 4-2, and then the Caps made it 4-3, and I went, "You guys, please don't do this to us. You've done it to us too many times, and the Caps are too good of a team to let kind of melt down." But Karol Vejmelka was phenomenal, and even though they gave up that 4th goal to send that thing to overtime, he was lights out in that extra frame. And I'll tell you, listening to it and watching it, that was some exciting hockey right there and a great way for this club to get sent into the break.
Oh, my gosh, it was fantastic. I mean, you said it, against the best team in the Eastern Conference, the Washington Capitals. You have them on the ropes, right? But this Capitals team has more comeback wins than anybody in the NHL this season. So you know the Caps are going to make a push. They have the great Alex Ovechkin, who's just, I think, 16 goals away from breaking the all-time NHL goal-scoring record held by Wayne Gretzky. And Utah hangs on. You mentioned Karol Vejmelka, Veggie, as he's commonly referred to. He comes in cold. Connor Ingram gets hurt in the first period. Veggie had given up 6 goals the day before in Carolina, and he just pops right in there. He didn't even take any warm-up shots. Like, a bullpen pitcher comes in, they get 6 or 8 warm-up pitches or something. Veggie just came in cold off the bench and was fantastic. He goes 3 of 3 in the shootout against some of the most skilled players in the world, and he gives Utah 2 points that it needed to stay in the playoff race.
They played really well that last week before Four Nations. When they come back from Four Nations, are you bullish or bearish on their Stanley Cup playoff hopes?
Well, I'm a team employee, right? So I'm not going to say I'm wilting on it. But here, I'll give you 2 reasons to be, Ted Lasso from the Apple TV show pointing at the Believe sign. You've got a couple guys who are out with injury right now. Sean Dursey, who's been out since the 4th game of the season, and he has the non-contact jersey off. And he's been skating at practice, and he was on the last road trip with the team, just kind of getting used to being around the guys again and trying to get that locker room chemistry with him. He's a huge piece on Utah's blue line. And then Logan Cooley is going to be reevaluated after the Four Nations break as well. So don't have as clear of a timeline on him. But you've got 2 big pieces right there in Sean Dursey and Logan Cooley, who you could be getting back in the lineup in the coming weeks here, hopefully, which will be huge additions to this team. And Dursey is so versatile; he can move the puck, but he also wins his battles. He has great vision up the ice and in transitioning from your own zone up to the offensive zone. He's a great skater, and he's going to be a huge addition. It's going to be like adding a guy via trade after this Four Nations break for Utah to get those 2 guys. Utah's right in the mix. I mean, they're 3 games out right now, and we got a lot of road left to cover.
Mike, one of the things that we're interested in, and again, the trying to make up ground when you're far enough behind, the biggest deal is going to be taking on teams like Vancouver, who are right in front of them in the standings and stand in the way to be able to get there. And so they have a couple more games against Vancouver. They steal those, and then you have a big time flip-flop possibly in the standings. And so, but you can't just look at it and go, well, you just got to beat Vancouver and that's it. How does this team turn the corner in this next part of the season here? Because you got about a third of the year left, and you have a lot of hockey still yet to be played. But those points sometimes, even if it's 6 or 8 points, it feels so tough to be able to overcome. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I mean, you don't want to be, 6 to 4 points out in the last week of the season. It's going to be pretty tough to come back in that situation. But, I mean, you mentioned Vancouver. That's Utah's 2nd game back from break on Sunday the 23rd. It'll be at Delta Center at home. I think, to answer the question, I think what this team needs to do is start to rectify that home record a little bit. We've had some great moments here at Delta Center over the season, but if you look at the body of work so far, Utah's below 500 here at home, and what I think has been one of the best home atmospheres in the NHL. I mean, Dylan Guenther scored in the last second of overtime in Utah's last game, which came last week against the Philadelphia Flyers. And that game, all throughout, it felt like a playoff game. And that's what we're going to have against Vancouver coming up on again on Sunday the 23rd. So that'll be a ruckus atmosphere. And one thing I've noticed too, guys, is that this Utah crowd is starting to there's more awareness in the crowd. I think in the first few weeks of the season in the home game, I think everybody was just kind of happy to be there. We're learning. We're taking in the sights. Okay, this is what the NHL looks like. And now that people are invested in the team and invested in the players and getting to know the players through social media and digital content, now the fans in the building, it feels like they're aware, like, guys, we need these 2 points. And so that's been kind of fun to see from a growth perspective of this of the fan base. But I think the biggest thing is continuing to piece together 60-minute efforts. This team has been, struggling at times over the course of the year to put together 3 periods, but they've been better over the last couple months at that. And so continue to put together these performances against top-caliber teams where you're controlling possession, you're controlling the shot volume, which Utah did against Carolina and Washington last weekend, 2 teams where they're usually the ones writing the script of the night, and start to rectify that home record a little bit.
Before this break, we started to see some really good play from Josh Doan. And obviously we know he had to start earlier in the season, had to make a trip to the AHL, but since he's been back, he's just getting better and better. What do you notice about him and his game, and how important is he going to be to this team in the final 2 months of the regular season?
To be honest with you, he plays like he's the son of a former NHLer. His dad, Shane Doan, obviously played a lot of years in the league, but he's not the fastest skater, but his details with his stick are unbelievable. He's an excellent defensive forward, and he wins a lot of battles, even though he's a young guy. He maybe isn't as big and strong as some of these burly veterans, but he is crafty with his stick, and when he's confident and when he is authoritative with the puck, he's good offensively as well. We saw this a couple of games ago where he had the puck at the side of the net, and a lot of guys would have just shot it, even though they're kind of walled off by the goalie. There's no shooting angle, but Josh knew exactly where the next play was, and he found Lawson Krause in between the circles for what ended up being a Utah goal. It was a heck of a play, and I think Josh Doan in this year is going to be a player where his numbers, his goals, assists, and points don't really tell this whole story because he does so many of the little dirty things for Utah. But I'm excited to watch him develop. They sent him down to the minor leagues during the break. I think that's just for him to continue to get more touches. I wouldn't read too much into that. I think he's going to be part of this team, part of this push the last couple of months. That's just a guess because he's played well.
One of the things, Mike, that's interesting is trying to figure out from an injury standpoint where this team's going to sit after the break ends. What kind of ground are they going to make up when it comes to getting guys back on the ice?
Like when they get guys back from injury, what kind of push do you think they're going to make?
I mean, how much of an impact are the guys who are out right now going to be able to make possibly in the ending third of the season?
Well, Sean Durzi is one of your 3 best defensemen, right? So that's going to be a huge re-addition when he comes back. Logan Cooley, don't know his status right now, but I mean, if he were to come back in the next couple of weeks, that's one of your leading scorers right there. So you're getting one of your best defensemen and you're getting one of your best forwards back. And for Cooley, he also plays that center role, and we had seen him on different lines throughout the year. But with his speed, he's kind of like almost like a Tyreek Hill type player. He can take the top off a defense, and he can force those safeties back, right? He can force the defenseman back because of his speed and skating, creating more space for his teammates. And he can score, too. He's not just a skater, not just a passer. He's got a great shot as well. So you're talking about 2 guys in Durzi and Cooley who, when they come back, will factor in not just at 5-on-5, but at on special teams as well. You'll probably see Durzi on the penalty kill when he's at full speed, and probably on that second power play unit, and then Logan Cooley would be on that first power play unit. So those are 2 guys right there that are lugging a lot of minutes and will be huge factors moving down the stretch. And if they can be healthy and if they're at 100%, Utah's got a great chance to make the postseason.
Well, the reason that the Utah Hockey Club doesn't play till the 22nd is because of Four Nations. It begins tonight, Canada versus Sweden in Montreal, 8 o'clock on TNT. What is it about? What are some of the storylines with Four Nations coming in that you find the most intriguing, and who do you think is the favorite to win this tournament?
I think the U.S. is probably the best team front to back. Of course, Utah's captain, Clayton Keller, a lot of people thought he should have been on that Four Nations team for U.S., but was a bit of a snub, and he made sure that he let the Team USA general manager, Billy Guerin, know about it by scoring against Minnesota the other day. Billy Guerin, also the GM of the Minnesota Wild. So Keller, making his presence known against the Wild, saying, hey, you should have taken me on this team. But I think the U.S. from front to back is loaded. The U.S. is not going to have its signature defenseman in Quinn Hughes. It's been announced that he's going to miss the tournament, which is a pretty big blow by the U.S., but there's still so many big, rangy defensemen back there. And then you got the best goalie in the world on Team USA in Connor Hellebuck. And so it's like, they're a bunch of all-star teams, right? I think Finland has probably been decimated by injuries the most. And we did learn earlier that we're probably going to see Utah's Olli Mata and Utah's Juuso Välimäki playing on a D pairing together. They're two of the Mountain Blues representatives in this Four Nations tournament for Finland. But I love Team USA in this, although I did see the power play unit for what it's going to look like for Team Canada. You got Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Cale Makar, Sidney Crosby, and Sam Reinhart, who scored 50 goals last year. So it's like pick your poison there on the Canadian power play. But I think Team USA from front to back is the most well-constructed.
Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Hockey Club, joining us here on the program, as he does on a weekly basis. And we, of course, get to hear the smooth tones of him on the radio calling these Utah Hockey Club games, and we're looking forward to it. Mike, thanks for hanging out with us today, man. We appreciate it.
Again, any NIL information, it's at Mike_Folta. Send all your offers my way. We'll be in touch.
Oh, well, listen, at the very least, you got to do a food tour of all the schools before you make your final decision.
Okay, I was told to try the ice cream. I was told to try the ice cream at this time.
Everybody's got. Well, listen, BYU and Utah fight over who's got the best ice cream, which is great. And then
Hey, Aggie ice cream's right there,
look,
man.
You got to go. You got to. Here's the thing: when football season rolls around, Mike, and I know that's tough because it's right at the start of hockey season, but at the front end of the football season, you got to catch a game at Maverick Stadium up there in Logan. You got to catch a game at Lavelle Edwards Stadium down in Provo. You got to catch a game at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City. So all those are going to be those are must-sees, man, on college football days.
You're making it seem like I'm going to make my decision off of what's the best crowd or best atmosphere. This is strictly a financial decision.
All right. There you go. All right.
Okay.
Mike Folta, open for business.
We know what's most important to you, Mike. Okay.
Hey, you're just like the players these days. Show me the money, and then I'll be there. I love this school. Ever since the check cleared, I love this school.
Yeah, and maybe the next year I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, you'll love that school too.
Mike, we appreciate it, man. Have fun watching these Four Nations games. We'll chat with you again.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go, Mike Folta. I was looking at the, and Mike's a young dude, but the picture that he has of him calling these games on his go to his Twitter profile. It's easy enough to find. It's just at Mike_Folta, and he looks 15 years old.
Maybe he is.
Well, listen.
You haven't asked him how old he is.
Yeah, well, he's the one who said he's got college eligibility for NIL money. Maybe he hasn't even reached college age yet. We don't know. So there you go. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, so much more to chat about. So stay here, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, JJ and Alex, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, you can hang out with Jake and Ben on Friday at the RV show, 10 to noon at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. It's your opportunity to shop, compare, and buy the best RVs in the biz and the RV of your dreams. So we'll see you on Friday, the biggest event of the year for RV enthusiasts at the RV Super Show at Mountain America Expo Center there in Sandy. We're going to be there tomorrow afternoon, so you can get double dose. Get out there early, check it out, and then go back and say, honey, I found it, and then take her back and then make that deal happen. Let's go. Let me see here. Kellen Moore, it's official. JJ, he's going to be the head coach of your New Orleans Saints. I get it. You got to take a job. You got to take the head coaching job when it comes up. You don't know if it's ever going to come back.
Right, you're right. You're not going to turn it down an opportunity.
The more I look at it, I go, look, and when you're the head coach, you have the chance to build kind of a staff around you. I know that Brandon Staley was in discussions possibly too, his former head coach, when he was at the Chargers, and that might be a big pickup. And so if Kellen Moore could turn things around with how much of a mess it is, the expectations are going to be pretty low, which is what you want to walk into at I think at
but
a
if
place
you got
like New
cap
Orleans.
problems and you don't have a quarterback that's the future, and all these other issues that the Saints have, it's tough to be successful. And sometimes it might be better to wait. Like Ben Johnson with the Lions. He skipped a lot of job offers last year. He decided not to go. Well, for whatever reason, he felt like the Bears was the right situation. I think a lot of it had to do with Caleb Williams. But sometimes it's okay to wait. And I wonder if Kellen Moore should have gave it one more year, gone back to the Eagles, ran it back like Sirianni wanted him to.
Yeah.
And win back-to-back Super Bowls, and his stock would have gone even higher.
Will you tell me what this beef is between Steve Smith Sr. and Cam Newton? Two former Panther greats.
I'm on Team Steve Smith.
What's going on there? What happened? So Cam Newton goes on and blasts the Panthers for being quote-unquote losers.
Yeah. That didn't sit well with another guy that was in that locker room.
Right. Obviously.
Who went to a Super Bowl with the Panthers before Cam Newton got there.
Mm-hmm. And I get it. You want to pretend like you're the one who changed everything and turned everything around. I get it. But, yeah, kind of rough. But, yeah, 53-man locker room was 52. It says 52 losers. Wow, that's breaking news to number 89, Steve Smith wrote on X.
Not good.
Crazy. All right. Those hats. I wish I had the guts to wear the hats that Cam Newton does.
He has some very bold
I'm going to start doing
wardrobe decisions.
I'm going to start doing it. We get these cameras rolling in here. I'm going to get some Cam Newton-esque hats just to really make a name for myself.
It's a good way to kick off our video broadcast.
Let's do it. All right. We'll take the break here. We'll come back. When we do, get you ready for the Utah Jazz coming up at the top of the hour. You got pregame Jazz Lakers tonight. Stay here. 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone. Yes. It is that time of the show for us to get you ready for the Utah Jazz taking on the LA Lakers tonight. Pregame firing up here in just a couple of moments here. And our program, of course, is as always brought to you by the Doug Smith family of dealerships. An incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, or now the Mitsubishis in American Fork. So there you go. JJ, let me just ask you this. Who scores more points tonight? Lauri Markkanen or Luka Dončić? Both probably going to be limited minutes-wise, right?
Luka.
Okay.
I think he got 14 on Monday. Maybe gets a little bit more minutes this time around. And I think he's going to be a little bit more dynamic.
I'm going the other direction. I think Lauri Markkanen's going to be like, this is my house, bro. This is my house.
I hope so, because
and I don't get to do this very often
the
this
effort
year.
the Jazz put out on Monday night was not great.
I'm going to think you're going to get a 30-plus point game from Lauri tonight. That's my guess.
Okay.
All right? That means they got to play him more than 20 and a half minutes, so let's go. Joining us in studios for the final time today, the folks at Culligan Water. You want to get to know these guys. Colson Firmage, his family's been doing business as Culligan right here in the state of Utah for a long time. Kent's been helping us understand some of the technology that goes along with the water softener, the home filtration system. I'm this close to having these guys come out and have to do all this stuff for me because I described basically going, hey, when the water comes out of the tap, I love to get that clean chlorine smell to make me feel like it's safe, right, guys? And you're like, probably not good. There are a lot of people out there like me, though. Their water might smell like chlorine. They might have something, or the water just stinks in general, or it tastes funky. That's a good indicator to just say, hey, let's get something taken care of here.
Yeah, they might not know what's going on with their system, right? I mean, we talked, and you don't know if your system's working or not. I would imagine there are a lot of other people out there that don't know if their water softener or their drinking water system is really working properly or efficiently. So let us come out, let us do a free water test, let us do some consultations with you, talk about your water filtration, talk about what your needs are, your family's needs, your pets' needs. Everybody under your household deserves good, clean water, and we can do it at a really, really affordable price.
Yeah, we talk about drinking water being, really important. You can tell when it's not good, right? But another thing about hard water in this state is maybe people can't tell what that's doing to the inside of your house, so you can't see or smell or whatever. The importance of a water softener in the state of Utah is just you can't state just how important it is to have one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The home is an incredible asset, right? We want to take care of it. The appliances in our home, those things, we want them to last, right? Best way to make sure that the working water in your house running through those appliances, it's got to be soft. We can't have all those minerals calcifying inside those appliances and ruining them before they need to.
Last moments for us to be able to give you this phone number for today to get that free water consultation. Just have them do a water test. Come out to the house, check it out. But you can get $500 off of that water softener if you do end up going with this Culligan system that is the best and the top in the business. $500 off a water softener, plus you can get free salt delivery for a year. Don't miss out. 6 months, 0 payments. 801-509-9602. Call them for that free water test right now. Just let's get this thing going and see what the situation is at your house. 801-509-9602. That's 801-509-9602. CulliganSLC.com. Guys, thanks for hanging out today. Thanks for bringing the water.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll be back again, of course, tomorrow. JJ and Alex delivering on a Thursday. We're going to be at the RV show, so we'll see you then, everybody. So stay tuned right here. Jazz basketball next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.